You know, it's interesting when we think about Portugal and the financial situation here and just austerity measures across many parts of Europe, the question's got to come up, is social media relevant? Or is that the luxury of markets that are doing well? And I think it is extremely relevant. I think that we've seen some of the biggest social media successes come from brands who are in crisis. Ford Motor Company, who is doing tremendous social media marketing communications initiatives around the world and social business initiatives, were largely motivated by the financial crisis in North America, or eventually affected the world back in 2008, 2009. And that drove them to take social media very seriously as an alternative, more effective way to build a bond with their customers that would return a benefit today, but also in the long term. So I think my answer to those who would question whether social media is relevant in Portugal or any other stressed market right now is to say it's the perfect time to do it. And in fact, I think you are at risk if you don't start taking it seriously now. So it's interesting, what tools do we have to plan better and more effective social media programs? I think, you know, I can speak obviously easily about my own team at Social Ogilvy because we spent a fair amount of time over the past 7 years developing a planning model, a way of organizing our thinking for a social program based upon experience, not theory. I know a lot of others have done that. Some of the best brands out there, Nestle is doing something similar, IBM, American Express, Ford. Each of them are building models for planning successful programs based upon their experience. I think there are probably not as many kind of shrink-wrap products or tools that can solve the biggest problems out there right now. It's not as simple as getting a listening technology in place like Radiant 6 or Visible Technologies. Those are hammers and screwdrivers, but they don't tell you how to build the house, if you see what I mean. So I think my guidance to a marketer out there who is taking a fresh look at this or taking this seriously is to find a partner, find a team member who has had enough experience in this space to call on. Yeah, it's interesting. Social media, the question always comes up is how effective can you drive a global program versus a local program? And the truth is that social media behaviors and technology tend to be very market specific in a lot of ways. Yes, Facebook has extended itself across many markets, but not China and not Russia as much as other markets. So I think what we found is that local content, local solutions, local conversation and community management tends to drive much higher engagement with fan bases, if we're talking about Facebook, or customer bases, people who are following brands by many channels online. So now, the challenge is, how does that scale? So many of the multinational brands that we work with have old systems where they create a lot of stuff at the center and then push it out to local markets for them to use or not use as they see fit. So they have this behavior in place where things come from the center and get pushed out. When the content and innovation that happens in the local market is more effective, how do you then create a behavior of sending that back up to the center so that that can go to many other markets? And I think that's what we're seeing a lot of brands try to figure out right now. We are certainly doing that as well. So for brands that are starting a social media strategy and whose goal is to earn the attention and the advocacy of their customers, you know, it's a cliche, or it feels like a cliche, but it does start with listening to your customers first. I think we do an okay job of that as marketers sometimes. We don't stay committed to it like we could. So the trick that I have found is to listen to what people are saying, listen to or pay attention to what they're searching for, because there's two different things often, and what they're actually doing online, and trying to deliver something that kind kind of pays off on their intent. You know, what are they saying? What are they really saying? What are they really demonstrating their needs are when they're searching for certain things? And that's a good learned discipline. I think the other thing that I would throw in from my own experience is we have to stop being broadcasters. Right? There's some interesting, kind of interesting research in terms of what do customers most want from brands and Facebook, and unfortunately it's very misleading because it's like you're asking people the wrong question, because what they come back with is coupons and values, and that truly isn't the only way we can deliver value to customers today. So we have to go beyond the impulse of just trying to entice people with special offers. It's not just a promotional space. So one of the things that a lot of folks, including ourselves, are trying to figure out more precisely is how does social media activity drive sales? It's the ultimate business metric that anyone would ever want. And we have great isolated cases where the evidence is clear. Ford Explorer launched their new vehicle on Facebook. It led to 3,500 pre-orders of the vehicle 5 months or 6 months before it was available. IBM ran a B2B program in India around a community for CFOs that drove $178 million of lead generation value, $17 million of actual sales. So we're seeing cases. Coming up with the formula that can be predictably applied to any brand is just not, we're not there. We're not there. I mean, every brand has to figure it out for themselves. And I think we've expanded our view into social shopping on purpose because we want to see how and understand how social behaviors can drive people into store or online to the e-commerce store and actually follow them through purchasing to use of product to then advocacy. Oh, this was great. You wouldn't believe how good this dress looked on me. I'm paraphrasing. And that's part of why we're now focused on this notion of social shopping, where the conversion moment of buying something is really just the middle stage. So there's an interesting question that people are wrestling with, which is how to budget. What should we budget for social media? What are my peers doing in terms of budgeting for social media? There's some good data from Fuqua School of Business at Duke University in North America that suggests that social media spend will grow over the next 4 years, I want to say, to 18%. 18% of the total marketing communication spend. So if you're a big, fast-moving consumer goods company who may spend $900 million in marketing and communications expenditure, 18% of that in 4 years might go to something we call social. If you look today at what brands are spending, reality, you're going to see it's for the most part between 1 and 5%. So we got to get going. And and not because I say so and because my business benefits from it, but because we're once again chasing after consumer behavior. Right? This happened before with digital, when we were, as an industry, lagging behind the investment in digital that was equal to the amount of time and energy consumers were spending in it. The same thing is happening in social now. We got to get busy. Yeah. Where should brands invest money in social? What platforms should they be on? It's a great question that a lot of brands are asking, and unfortunately there's not one solution. I think that the biggest successes that I've seen are brands who build an overall strategy for how they're going to use content and platforms to build relationships with customers, kind of ticking off the kind of usual building blocks of a social strategy, and that will point you to the right platforms. Okay. Still, Facebook is the 900 million pound gorilla out there. They've grown across markets. They're the social network most likely to succeed as the next mass market platform. I know that most of the brands we work with out there have a very concerted effort to figure out how to use Facebook effectively, much more so than they have for some of the other platforms which they feel may be supplemental. That being said, if you're a B2B platform, you're going to be looking at LinkedIn more so, especially now because LinkedIn is actually doing some really cool things and obviously caters to a B2B conversation much more so, or more obviously so, than a Facebook does. We often say, think about your 5-platform strategy. It's a random number, but you need to be where your customers are. Could be Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. I don't know, maybe now if you're a retailer, it's Pinterest. I don't know what the complexion of those 5 are, but it's also your .com, your website brand, your CRM email system. If you're a brand thinking holistically about all those platforms and how you're communicating with your customer in different, distinct ways, then I think you're in great shape.